It is winter in Rome. The Tiber runs grey beneath a low sky. The wind bites at the cheeks of travelers in the Forum, and the hills echo with the sound of carts rattling on stone. Yet, step through the great bronze doors of a Roman bathhouse, and the world changes. The air hums with life. Marble columns glisten with condensation. Light dances across pools of steaming water, and hundreds of voices rise in a haze of warmth that feels impossible for its time. In a world without electricity, without coal furnaces, without even the concept of central heating, Rome glowed with comfort. This was not an accident of geography. It was no gift of mild Mediterranean weather. It was a secret born beneath the stone floors themselves, a whisper of fire and smoke that the Romans had mastered. They called it the hypocaust, and for centuries it remained their hidden magic, an invisible breath of warmth that transformed cold marble into living heat. To understand why it mattered, you have to see the bathhouse as more than a place of leisure. For the Romans, the times Thermae times were a theater of empire. Here, senators and soldiers, merchants and slaves, all gathered under the same vaulted ceilings. Steam softened the hard lines of politics and ambition, conversations flowed as easily as the water, and alliances were made in the glow of communal warmth. In a sense, the empire itself was maintained in these baths, through the daily rituals of connection and belonging. And at the center of it all was the comfort of heat. Imagine it. While tribes beyond the frontiers huddled around smoky fires, choking on the sting of wood smoke inside dark huts, Roman citizens reclined on heated benches, their feet warmed by invisible flames far below. They could strip away their tunics, plunge into hot pools, and walk barefoot across stone floors that seemed to radiate the sun itself. Comfort was no longer seasonal. Civilization, they believed, had conquered the cold. But the mystery only deepens when you remember what they had to work with. Rome did not know the mechanics of thermodynamics, nor the formulas of modern engineering. They had no electricity to drive fans, no boilers humming in basements, no thermostats on the wall. And yet, their system worked with a precision that astonishes even today. The knowledge was not merely practical, it was cultural. Fire had always been sacred to the Romans, a living connection to the gods. To control it, to tame it into something that could heat entire buildings without burning them down, was a statement of mastery over nature. When a visitor stepped into a bathhouse and felt that enveloping heat, they weren't just impressed by comfort. They were awed by Rome's command of the elements. It was propaganda made physical, a way of saying, asterisk, here, under the eagle of Rome, even the cold obeys us. Asterisk. We know now that beneath those floors lay a hidden world of stone and fire, a space that few citizens ever saw. A labyrinth of brick pillars and hollow walls, where flames roared and smoke curled in silence, carrying warmth upward until it infused the very stones. The hypocaust was not just an invention, it was an illusion. People felt warmth as if from nowhere, unaware that a hidden army of slaves tended furnaces in the dark, shoveling wood to keep the empire's great lungs breathing. The grandeur of Rome's heated spaces was not universal. Most Romans lived in cramped insulae, apartment blocks where the chill of winter bit through the walls and open flames threatened constant fire. For them, warmth was a luxury, only glimpsed when they entered the public baths. A taste of the empire's wealth they could not claim for themselves. Yet even so, the hypocaust was a symbol of collective identity. It was Rome's way of showing its people, rich or poor, that they belonged to a civilization unlike any other. And that is what makes it so haunting. Today we walk among ruins, cold stone, broken pillars, cracked tiles, and it is hard to imagine them alive with warmth. But the truth is that these places once breathed. The floors once pulsed with heat, the walls whispered with fire, and the air shimmered with steam. The ruins are bones, but once they had blood. So the question rises like smoke from an unseen furnace. How did they do it? How did men without modern science invent a system so advanced that it still inspires engineers today? What secret did Rome bury beneath its marble? One that kept its people warm for centuries, and then vanished into the ashes of history. That is the story of the hypocaust, the hidden warmth of Rome, and to uncover it, we must descend beneath the marble floors, into the dark corridors, where the fire still lingers, waiting to be remembered. To follow the trail of the hypocaust, we must leave the glowing marble halls above, and descend into the shadows beneath. Down here, in the hidden underworld of the bathhouse, the story changes. Gone are the sounds of laughter and splashing water. Instead, the air is heavy with smoke, the roar of fire echoes against stone, and the glow of embers paints the walls red. This is the heart of the machine, a furnace that never rests, tended day and night by men whose faces were blackened by soot. They were the invisible labor that fed Rome's miracle of warmth. Picture the design. Beneath the floor of the bathhouse stretched a forest of small brick pillars, each one rising like a miniature column, supporting great slabs of stone above. The floor was not solid, but hollow. Suspended on this army of pillars, into this hidden cavity, the furnace called the Times Praefernium Times poured its breath. Hot air and smoke billowed into the empty space, circulating freely underfoot. Slowly, methodically, the heat rose upward, warming the slabs of stone, until the very surface of the marble above radiated warmth into the chamber. But the Romans did not stop there. They carried the heat up through the walls themselves. Hollow clay tiles, ingeniously fitted together, created flues, hidden channels, through which smoke and hot air climbed toward the roof. The walls became living veins, circulating fire like blood, turning stone into a conductor of comfort. When you leaned against the wall of a Roman bathhouse, you felt the warmth seep into your skin. It was not fire you saw, but fire you touched, transformed into something almost magical. The genius of the hypocaust lay in its simplicity. No gears, no moving parts, no delicate mechanisms that might break. Only fire, air, stone, and design. The whole system relied on balance. Air had to flow smoothly, the furnace had to burn steadily, and the spaces beneath the floor had to remain clear. If any part failed, the illusion above collapsed. It was a triumph of geometry and intuition, guided by craftsmen who knew how to coax nature into cooperation without ever naming the science behind it. Of course, this was no gift available to all. Only the grand bathhouses of Rome and the villas of the wealthy could afford such indulgence. The cost of wood alone was staggering, and the endless work of slaves made it possible. In the countryside, a senator might walk across his heated villa floor, while peasants outside shivered in the cold. The hypocaust was comfort, but it was also inequality made visible. To feel that warmth was to feel the weight of privilege. Yet even here, in its exclusivity, the hypocaust was a declaration. It told the world that Rome could command not just armies and provinces, but nature itself. The same empire that carved roads through mountains and lifted aqueducts across valleys now bent fire to its will. It was technology as spectacle, a reminder that Rome's power extended into every corner of life, even the unseen spaces beneath your feet. Archaeologists today marvel at its precision. Modern engineers recognize it instantly as a form of underfloor heating, centuries before such systems would be rediscovered in Europe. Step into a luxury apartment in a northern city today, and you may feel the same sensation: warm floors in the heart of winter. But what strikes us is not just the similarity. It is the realization that Rome was there first, experimenting with ideas we still rely on, crafting comfort from nothing but fire and stone. In places like Bath in Britain, Trier in Germany, or the ruins of Ostia near Rome, you can still trace the skeleton of these systems. The brick pillars stand like a ghostly army. The hollow tiles gape like empty mouths. The soot still stains the walls where fire once licked upward. Touch them, and you almost expect to feel a lingering heat. They are ruins now, but they whisper of a time when they were alive, when the empire's warmth pulsed through them like breath. But brilliance always came at a cost. The system was fragile. It demanded constant fuel, constant maintenance, and the tireless labor of slaves. A furnace untended could choke its chambers with smoke. Floors might crack under strain. A careless fire could consume the entire building. This was not a technology of convenience, it was a technology of power, sustained by wealth and human effort. Still, it worked. For centuries, Romans walked across heated floors, bathed in steaming pools, and felt the embrace of warmth in stone. They created a comfort so advanced it feels almost modern, yet it was born in a world lit only by fire. And in this paradox, simplicity and sophistication bound together, the genius of the hypocaust shines brightest. But even the brightest flame can falter. The question is not only how Rome built this miracle, but how such knowledge, once so alive, could vanish into the darkness of history. For that answer, we must turn to the fall of the empire itself, and the slow extinguishing of its hidden fire. When Rome fell, the fire beneath its stones went out. The bathhouses that had once pulsed with warmth grew cold, their marble floors cracking in silence. The furnaces were left untended, their embers collapsing into ash. For centuries, those hidden chambers lay buried beneath rubble, their purpose forgotten, their genius invisible. Travelers who stumbled upon the ruins of a hypocaust saw only strange pillars and hollow tiles, never guessing they had once carried the breath of fire. The collapse was not sudden, but slow, like a dying flame starved of air. The empire's aqueducts crumbled, roads fell into disrepair, and trade withered. The vast networks of wood supply that fed the bathhouses disappeared, and with them the endless manpower that kept the furnaces alive. Without Rome's wealth and order, the hypocaust became impossible to sustain. In the chill winters of medieval Europe, people no longer bathed in halls of steam. They returned to smoky hearths and drafty chambers, to the old struggle against cold. Comfort, once mastered, had slipped from human hands. For more than 1,000 years, the secret slumbered in the earth. When farmers in Britain or France dug into Roman ruins, they sometimes uncovered lines of brick pillars or hollow tiles stacked against one another. To them, these were curiosities, fragments of a forgotten age. The knowledge had broken, like a chain with missing links, leaving only mystery. It would take centuries of excavation before archaeologists pieced together the puzzle and realized what had been lost. Today, when we walk through the ruins of a Roman bathhouse, say, in Bath, England, or beneath the streets of Trier, we see more than stone. We see a blueprint of imagination. The soot still clings to the bricks, as if the fire only just burned out. The hollow walls gape like veins, emptied of blood. Stand there long enough, and you can almost hear the crackle of logs. Feel the warmth creeping upward. Smell the mingling of steam and smoke. The ghost of Rome's breath lingers. What makes the hypocaust haunting is not just its brilliance, but its fragility. Here was a technology that could have transformed the medieval world, that could have carried comfort through centuries of cold. Yet it vanished, not because it was flawed, but because the society that sustained it collapsed. Knowledge alone is never enough. It requires stability, resources, and will. Without them, even the brightest fire goes out. And yet, in a way, Rome's warmth was not lost forever. In the 19th century, engineers began to experiment with underfloor heating again, marveling at how closely their designs echoed the ancients. Today, when you step barefoot onto a heated bathroom floor, you are treading on an idea born 2,000 years ago in the chambers beneath a Roman bath. The line between past and present grows thin, as if the hypocaust never truly died. It only slept, waiting to be rediscovered. The story of the hypocaust is more than a tale of engineering. It is a parable about civilization itself. The Romans believed they had conquered the cold, and for a time, they had. But when their empire crumbled, even fire slipped from their grasp. In the end, the ruins remind us of a truth both humbling and inspiring. Human achievement is fragile, but human imagination endures. The flame goes out, but it can be lit again. And so the warmth of Rome, though long extinguished, still touches us. Beneath the marble, in the ashes of forgotten furnaces, in the echo of soot-stained walls, the empire breathes, not with soldiers or emperors, but with the quiet genius of fire and stone, its most human legacy.